is probably important to hit on that liquid loans has now offered people, and we talked a little bit about this in the green room, but it allows your pulse to be productive now, right? It allows it to be productive without needing hardware behind it running validators. Like obviously, RHMax, you've done a lot of really great educational content to make that transition into validating as seamless and as easy as possible. But before, that's a fairly high barrier to entry for some people, even with all the great content that we have. And some people just aren't interested in walking down that rabbit hole themselves. Now, at least with liquid loans, your ability to make your pulse productive simply by putting it in, taking a loan and throwing it into the stability pool, just that little loop right there is humongous. I've heard in the community and in like chats and stuff in the background, people are like, I want to have what can I do with my pulse? I don't want to validate, but I don't want to sell any. How can I make money on it besides price go up? And like now we actually have an answer to that. Before it was like, well, there are no kind of other options. If you're not liquidity providing, because you have to sell into another token and you don't want to do validating, then you're just kind of holding liquid. There's really not much else to do. But with liquid loans now, like your pulse can be pretty productive in the background and in a fairly safe way. Because in your throwing stables in the stability pool, most of those coins are going to stay in USDL. There'll be some that are used to help with the liquidations, and then you'll get pulse back for it. So if you just check every once in a while, sell it back into USDL and throw it in the stability pool, because the liquid loans platform is no time frame, 0% interest. If you have the USDL that you took out and the price isn't going down, or not even if the price is going down, or whatever the price does, if you have the USDL somewhere in your wallet that you can get, you will always be able to pay your loan off because it's not increasing. Your debt's never increasing at all. I think that's a good place to start, probably.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really cool for people to kind of understand is like I'll touch on there. Like the protocol is like an extension of tokenomics for PLS, right? PLS pays for transactions. It's used for a validator. It's got this. Now it's got this stuff, right? Like it adds functionality to what was already there. And we've seen again along some of this, you're seeing some validators shut down. Now I haven't went and checked, but this was something that there was some kind of hypotheses that we would see the liquidity thin out as a ratio of price. So because that was what there was to do, right? Was go LP or set up validators. Now as there's more and more DeFi stuff coming on board, not just in the protocols themselves, but again, we're going to talk on some ARB opportunities or what happens with, multiple different pools. The other dexes start to, add some kind of gamesmanship if they try to kind of jockey to get more of that liquidity on their platform. And then as liquidity tends to go where it's treated best, and you see multiple platforms and like the DEX aggregators make more sense in portfolio management, and you kind of get this activity breeds activity. So extending value to PLS ends up with tons of really, really powerful and interesting downstream effects.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're speaking very broadly on the possibilities here because they're literally limitless. And as more and more competition comes online, you're gonna see a decline in validators. That's kind of what we've seen now. It's gone the other way. So I think it peaked around 53,000. Right now it's at 49,700. So people are definitely chasing these higher potential yields on liquid loans. But my favorite part of the whole thing, and it's pretty simple, I think, just to speak broadly to the audience, is what we're doing, guys, is we're locking up Pulse, which is less Pulse that could be dumped on the market, and we're creating stable coins by locking it up. That's pretty powerful in and of itself. Because instead of going out and creating a new stable coin with real world dollars, we're actually able to leverage the pricing that we already get from the amount of stable coins that are existing in the loop. So you have like 30 million DAI from Ethereum and 20 million of the other two stable coins. So that's what 30, 40, 50, like basically like 70 million maybe. Let's see. Let me double check to be sure, but. I see 23 million DAI, 15 million USDC, and 10 million. So 20, 30, 40, well, let's just say 50 million roughly dollars of stable coins. But now we've effectively added another additional, let's see, hold on. How many additional dollars has Liquid Loans created?
15 million.
15 million. So about 33% of all stable coins on PulseChain were created using the pricing we got from the $50 million that gives Pulse a value. And that's pretty cool, if you ask me. And that number can continue to climb because that number, that $15 million of USDL is coming from 600 billion Pulse, which is like what, 1/20th of the total user supply of PulseChain. So if you doubled it up, now you're starting to compete with the weight of the bridged in stablecoins. And I think ultimately with the flippening on PulseChain is when the on-chain stablecoins outweighs the bridged in stablecoins. And this thing's going to really give it a lot of legs. And additionally, more and more of that Pulse is going to get locked up to create that value. And if the Pulse price, or if the Pulse is getting locked up, the price will start rising, and which will give us even more leverage to borrow more USDL to create more value on the chain.
Exactly. When you look at fee distribution, when you look at total minted, when you look at TVL, all of those things are wrapped into the PLS price, right? So, and again, there's those downstream effects. So as of right now, there's less PLS on the market. Again, less supply, similar increasing demand, you get price movement. So if you see those kinds of things, then the TVL goes up. And then when the TVL goes up, it gives more opportunity for USDL. As more people are putting it there, that means the yields go up on validators because there's less competition on validators because they're doing something else. And as people go to LP, USDL, or other things, it basically opens all these things up. As you have another valve, it spreads out that participation and opens up yield opportunities for everyone. So if, again, the majority of people were sitting in PLS, PLSX, now they've got somewhere else to move around. Okay, well, then that yield's going to go for the guys who stay there. So again, it has a lot of downstream effects when you just don't have a big pile of dormant capital that's not only in play, but there's another avenue, right? So again, it starts to really open up opportunities everywhere. I mean, if we're sitting in 5,000 of the validators say, hey, we've got a huge network, this thing's rocking and rolling, so 5,000 validators come off and go do something else. Well, that validator yield just went up 10%. All right, well, now validators, and so again, you'll see the sloshing and leveling across all these yield plays, and things will keep going where they're treated best. So
it moves
the needle.
As transactions increase, because people are no longer validating, they're doing things with their Pulse, it makes the supply of Pulse deflationary, which enhances the effect of more locked up supply and less available on market. So
the transaction volume has been really big out of the first couple of weeks.
This liquid loans thing is like super expansionary for the ecosystem in a way that most of the other protocols or things before it were more extractionary, or like they didn't make the ecosystem better. They're just analogs or parallels to effectively just sell, right? I mean, so I think it's pretty cool that this is a value creation tool, right, on the chain, leveraging what we already have, versus like going and seeking new capital to try to create value somewhere else.
And there's again, like this stuff just keeps going and going. Like you just keep going. Okay, well those second order effects and the second order, and it just keeps going. We'll see. There's when you have things like Coast and USDL pairings, like that makes that seamless. Like the ability to come on and off basically directly through stables and PLS. There's great ways there. We'll see more and more again of that kind of jockeying, I think, for the stablecoin value. So the users of the protocol also start to have what would you say? Like there's a curb appeal, right? If you're sitting here and you have 15 million USDL minted, other protocols in yield in different places say, hey, I want that value there, right? So whether it's Fux, again, some things on Fame, whether it's more in PLSX or any of these other dexes or different utilities get built, they want that value there, right? So then again, it gets all these secondary effects where you start to say, hey, the users of this protocol are the ones with the bag. We're the ones locking up the Pulse. Here's how you get access to that capital and value. It's pretty expansive.